Hi, boys and girls. It's Mrs. Sampson, and today I wanted to make a video for you to talk about some of the things that you have been learning about inside of our class. Now, we haven't been meeting together as an entire group quite as much as we were, but I want you to try and remember back to our wrinkled heart activity. Remember the day I asked you to bring a piece of paper that was cut out into a heart? And every time we named something that would hurt our feelings, we crushed that heart. By the end, we tried to smooth it out and we realized that, you know what? It is hard to fix a broken heart or a wrinkled heart. And in the stuff that I mailed you, you will find a coloring sheet and it's got a poem on it. It's called The Wrinkled Heart. Before you speak, think and be smart. It's hard to fix a wrinkled heart. This is something I want you to remember. So, just like when we had our chart that's back here on my easel somewhere, we talked about when I do something, this is how others feel. So, before you do something, it's important that you think about how it will make other people feel, okay? Because we don't want to wrinkle anybody's heart. We don't want our to be wrinkled, so we don't want our friends to be wrinkled either, okay? So you can color this one, and just as you're coloring or when you look at it, maybe you want to put it on your refrigerator or post it in your room. When you do that, think about making sure that you're thinking about your actions before you do them, making sure they're nice actions that aren't going to wrinkle anyone's heart. Okay? This week, we also learned about empathy. We came to class and we played a little game. In fact, I have the little game cards right here. There they are. Remember we said the how would you feel game? So, or the empathy game. I said, you're having your birthday party today. How do you feel? And some of you held up excited. Some of you held up happy. Okay. We said she loses her favorite sweater. Some of you said you would feel angry. Others of you said that you would feel sad. People have different emotions when something happens. And being able to think about how somebody else is feeling is called empathy. Another one we had was he read a hard book to his sister. Many of you said frustrated or angry or sad because you know what? Reading a hard book can be challenging. But one of our friends said they would be excited. That was a different kind of emotion. And that's okay. Everybody has different emotions, right? So maybe that friend was excited because they like to do challenging things. Well, that's awesome. But we need to remember that not everybody loves to do challenging things. Sometimes people are frustrated or sad or angry when something is challenging. So we have to think about how other people feel. And the last one we did was her new toy break. So we pretended that one of our toys broke. And how would we feel about that? And most of you said sad or angry. Okay, some of you might have said frustrated, but again, we are thinking about how other people feel. We don't all have the same feelings. We all might feel them at some point, but when a certain situation comes up, we might all feel differently. And it's important to think about how other people are feeling. To go with that, today I brought a story with me. This is called You, Me, and Empathy. And remember, empathy is what we're learning all about. It's the ability to think about how other people might be feeling. This story is written by, or the author is, Jayneen Sanders, and it's illustrated by Sophia Cardoso. I want to talk to you very quickly about the magic of the author and the illustrator. Something that is so cool to me is that the author is the one who actually creates the characters, the setting, the whole story. The author creates it. So think about your favorite book. Maybe it's Pete the Cat or Curious George. Well, if somebody else had written that story, it would be completely different. So the author has some really special talents that help you know who a character is. The illustrator has a really special job too, because think about that book again, Pete the Cat, Curious George, whatever your favorite book is. If somebody else had illustrated it, it would look different. So Pete the Cat is a blue, kind of like thin cat. Well, if somebody else had drawn him, he might have been a brown cat. So the author and the illustrator have two very important jobs because they help you connect with the characters the setting, and what's happening. Okay? So, in this story, I want you to think about what the author and the illustrator are telling you. Okay? All right. Here's a dedication page, and I'm not quite sure what this Quinn said. A dedication page is when you say, like, I wrote this book for somebody else. So on this one, it says, for those adults who never hesitate to bend down, look a child in the eyes, and say with empathy and kindness, I'm listening, I care, and I understand. So that's what the author is going to want us to think about. They want us to listen, to care. They want you to like care about how other people are feeling. If somebody's sad or frustrated or excited, they want you to care about that. And they want you to understand that. Okay, here we go. When I was a baby, I really was small, while everyone else seemed incredibly tall. And here's a picture of the family. But as I grew older, I started to see that people are just like me. How are you the same as your friend, your sister, brother? How are you different? So think about that. How are you the same as maybe your parents or a friend? How are you different? Sometimes I'm happy, and sometimes I'm sad. Sometimes I'm worried, and sometimes I'm mad. Do you ever have those feelings? I know you do. We all have those feelings. We all have feelings. You have them too. And sometimes I feel just exactly like you. What makes you happy? Sad, worried, or mad? If you want to, you can pause the video and talk to a family member or a friend at your house. What makes you happy, sad, worried, or mad? When my mother was sick with a tummy bug, I knew that she needed a big, snuggly hug. How do you think he knew that? What do you think the mom does for him when he's sick? Maybe she gives him a hug. Let's keep reading. I rubbed her back and patted her hand and said, I'm sorry. I do understand. Do you think he's ever had an upset tummy before? Probably. Have you? So if you've had an upset tummy, you can think about how this mom is feeling with an upset tummy. For once I was sick with a terrible flu. I sneezed and I sputtered, but what could I do? My mother said softly while patting my hand, my dearest of dears, I do understand. That's when she gave me a big snuggly hug. Ooh, there it is. So she did hug him when he was sick. And I instantly knew I was humongously loved. My mother was kind and caring to me, exactly the same as how we should be. So she was caring and kind. How should you be when somebody is sick or not feeling well? Then the author asks a question to you. It says, who helps you when you're sick? How do they make you feel? Think about that. When my brother fell over and hurt his knee, he cried and cried in front of me. I helped him up and said, there, there, and sat him down on the kitchen chair. For once I slipped and cut my knee, my brother was there to care for me. He held my hand and said, there, there, and sat me down on the kitchen chair. So when somebody else goes through something, let's say they fall down and scrape their knee, you can think about a time that you had that happen to you or something similar. Like maybe you fell down and bumped your elbow. It might not have been your knee, but you know how it feels to get hurt, right? The author asks us a question right here. He says, or she says, who shows you kindness? In what ways do they show you kindness? How do you show kindness to others? One day in the park, a girl was pushed over, knocked down to the ground by a dog called Rover. I knew his name because, you see, Rover the dog did the same thing to me. Oh man, River the dog does not sound like a very nice dog. The poor little girl sat still on the ground, not a sob, not a whimper, not one little sound. Then all of a sudden she started to cry. Perhaps I could help. It was worth a try. So again, just thinking about how other people feel. So when you see somebody get hurt or knocked down or something happens to them that maybe would make them sad, we can think about how they are feeling, and that is called empathy. There, there, I said as I patted her arm. Rover the dog doesn't mean any harm. He's just being playful, so try not to fuss. He just doesn't notice small people like us. So it turns out Rover is not a mean dog. He's just very playful, and it knocked her down. So he's trying to encourage her. It's okay. You don't have to cry. You don't have to fuss. He just doesn't notice small people like us. Like, it's okay. And then the author asks us a question again. Have you ever helped anyone who was sad? How did you help them? Think about it. How did you help somebody who was sad? You can pause the video if you want to and talk to somebody at home. One day at school, while having fun, I saw a boy alone in the sun. No one came over and said, let's play. I could see he was sad. He was not okay. How would you feel if you were sitting all alone? So I left my friends and over I ran, and I asked if he'd like to play in the sand. His smile was huge, enormous, and wide. It gave me a warm, fuzzy feeling inside. Has anyone ever invited you to play? How did it make you feel? When I started school, I too sat alone. I had no one to play with. I longed to go home. Then a girl called Abby ran over to me and asked me to play near the old oak tree. We gathered some acorns for finger hats. We swung from the branches like acrobats. We played for ages, and from that day, friends forever, we always say. Have you got a good friend? How does your friend make you feel? Yesterday at the big green slide, I saw a child run away and hide. Come back, said her dad. Just give it a try. This slide is not so terribly high. So why did the little girl run away? She was afraid of the big slide. So up she climbed to the very top. Slide down, he said. I'll help you stop. But there she sat and there she stayed, waiting to move, but too afraid. So she was feeling scared. Have you ever felt scared? I knew just how this girl was feeling, worried and scared. Her head was reeling, meaning going over and over, thinking about how scared she is. For when I was little, I sat at the top, terrified that I wouldn't stop. So again, this little kid is thinking about a time where they felt the same way. We're thinking about how the other person is feeling. You can do this, is what I said. You're braver than you think. It's all in your head. The more and more brave things you do, the easier it becomes for you. I am really brave, the girl shouted, and whoosh! Before we knew it, she was on the ground. Here's a question from the author. The author says, have you ever felt scared? What happened? Tell me about a time you had to be brave. Pause the video and tell somebody at home a time you had to be brave. There's one more story I'd like to share about a bully who never played fair. Oh boy. He pushed children over, was mean and unkind. He made us feel sad so deep down inside. Now, a bully, you'll learn more about this in school, especially when you have a counselor from your school talk to you. But a bully is somebody who does something mean over and over again, usually to the same child. That's usually what a bully is classified as. Every now and then we have something that we do that is not okay. Even Mrs. Sampson does something every now and then that is not okay. Like sometimes I accidentally yell at my children. My children are only 2 and 3 years old. Should I yell at them? No, I shouldn't yell at them. So every now and then we might do something that's wrong and not okay. But a bully is somebody who does something over and over again, and usually to the same child. But one day at school, I saw something strange. The bully was bullied and pushed off a swing. He was sad, he was crying as he walked away, so I followed him and asked him, "Are you okay?" So, the bully is being bullied. His eyes were watery, his nose was red. He looked at me, these words he said. "I was mean to the children. It wasn't right. I know how they feel now. I've had a big fright. Kind and caring is how we should be. I know this because a bully bullied me." Have you ever been bullied? And by that, remember, it's somebody who picks on you or does the same hurtful thing to you over and over. It's not just one time. So, like when we think about our older brothers and sister, Mrs. Sampson has an older sister. It has to be something they do over and over again. It's a pattern. That's what classifies a bully. Every now and then we do something mean to our siblings if you have a sibling, or even to our friends. Have you ever done anything mean to your friend or your sibling? You probably have. But we don't classify a bully just because something is mean. We say somebody is a bully only when it's a repetitive pattern that happens over and over again. Okay. That word bully gets used a lot in school, but I want you to be careful with it. You have to think. You can say somebody did something that was not nice, but a bully is somebody who does something over and over again. So when you're thinking about that, have you ever been bullied? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know that I was ever bullied. Nothing was ever repetitive where it happened over and over again. But lots of people did things that were not nice to me. Just like I'm sure you've had lots of people do things that were not nice to you. But how does it make you feel when somebody does something that's not nice to you? Let's keep going. So as I am growing taller each day, I'm learning so much in so many ways. I'm learning that we should try to be kind, helpful, and caring all of the time. Our world is so special. We all need to care about one another and the earth we share. People together from far and from wide. We're all on this planet. We're all on the same side. And the author asks, what might be some ways we could show other people we care about them? Pause the video and talk to your parents or your friend. What's a way that you can show that you care about other people? So when someone's hurting or worried or sad, remember those feelings I'm sure you've had. Remember to think about how other people are feeling. You've probably felt the same way too. Say kindly with care, I understand, I do, because sometimes I feel just exactly like you. And that is the end of that. Let's see. I'm not going to do the questions that are at the end. I just want you to think about how other people are feeling. You have all the same emotions, all the same feelings. We all share them. So, in a situation where somebody feels sad and you feel happy or excited, like reading a hard book, you might feel happy and excited, but I might be feeling sad. Try to think about how I am feeling and how you can help me. If you're the one feeling sad, well, just know it's okay. We all have those feelings. And you know what? Sadness usually goes away. You usually find something to be happy about. So just hang on to that. And I will hope and hope that there will be another kid who can show you empathy. And remember, empathy is where we can think about how other people are feeling. Okay? And while we're on that, I'm going to show you your empathy scavenger hunt. Remember, all of these worksheets are not mandatory, but I would love for you to do them if you can and if you have time, okay? So this is the empathy scavenger hunt. It says find a person who has had an experience listed and have them write their name. So we have a broken toy. Find somebody who's had a broken toy. Find somebody who's lost a friend. Maybe they're no longer friends anymore. Maybe they grew up and they feel like they are just, so much older. And so y'all are no longer friends. This happened. I have lots of people that I had been friends with over time, and we're no longer friends just because of life. It happens. All right. So think about that. Find somebody who's scared of the dark. Have them write their name right here. If they can't write their name yet, you can have their parents write their name there. Find somebody who's made a new friend, or lost a game, or felt left out, or scored a goal, or lost a pet. Maybe a pet ran away. Maybe the pet is no longer living. Find somebody who lost a pet, dropped their ice cream. Oh boy, that would make me frustrated. Missed a parent. Maybe you went to school and you missed your mama that day. Find somebody who's missed a parent. Find somebody who's been to the hospital or had a cavity. Oh boy, Mrs. Sampson has cavities right now. I have to go to the dentist to get those fixed. It is not fun, but it's okay. We all feel different feelings. Some of you might be super excited to go to the dentist because you never have any cavities. But some of us who get cavities, we're like, oh man, I got to go get a cavity fixed. But it will be okay. We can encourage each other and say, you know what, Mrs. Sampson, I had a cavity filled and it's okay. Look, my teeth are perfect now, and your teeth will be just fine too. Encourage each other. Think about how other people are feeling. Find somebody who's had surgery before or rescued an animal, or maybe they felt alone. So, like we said on the playground, maybe nobody would play with them. Find somebody who felt alone. And as you find all these things, I want you to think about how that person feels. In fact, you can even ask them, how did that make you feel? And think about their feelings and how you can help that person if they are feeling a certain way. Okay? Remember, empathy is all about thinking about how somebody else feels. Okay? Oops, sorry. All right. Well, I love you guys. I hope you have a wonderful weekend and I will see you soon. Remember to be empathetic or practice empathy, thinking about how other people feel. I'll see you soon. Bye, friends.